do start, as we always do, with our weekly headlines. Penn State, #1 with a bullet. Dominant once again, pair of weekend wins. Ohio State and Nebraska claiming the dual meet championship with a perfect 8-0 record. Nittany Lions have now won outright or shared that title 8 times since 2012. Finish up non-con against Rider after having this weekend off. Then it's off to the Big Tens.
Iowa beats Wisconsin inside a sold-out Carver Hawkeye. Iowa wins 8 of 10 matches. It was senior day, and those seniors stepped up. Austin DeSanto, Jade Nyerman, Caleb Young, Michael Kemmer. Those guys, big days on Saturday afternoon as Iowa takes care of the Badgers.
You could see how emotional it was, especially for guys like Alex Marinelli when he left the mat at Carver Hawkeye for the very last time. Friday in Lincoln, we provided you a phenomenal duel here on Big Ten Network. Was Michigan, Nebraska down to the wire? Logan Massa had a terrific win at 174 over Mikey Labriola, but really the tone was set early. Will Lewan's second bout out in the night knocks off top 5 Peyton Robb, helping Michigan avoid what would have been a minor upset even on the road against the Huskers.
The Purdue Boilermakers beat Minnesota for the first time since 2004. It was the lower weights that really set the tone. Devin Schroeder, a big win against Patrick McKee. Matt Ramos and Parker Phileas winning at 133 and 141. And Hayden Lowry, we saw as Matt returns, he had a nice win at 165. The Boilermakers victorious against the Gophers.
Hey, save those Matt returns for later in the show. Don't use all your ammo right now. Ohio State saved up its best for last against Rutgers. Fell behind early and then a couple of huge late wins. Rocky Jordan over John Poznanski, and then Gavin Hoffman over Greg Bolzak, both considered pretty big-time upsets, helping Ohio State use those late weights to come back and score the last 13 points in this duel to knock off Rutgers. But we start with Penn State and the dominance of the Nittany Lions. Another dual championship for Penn State. Now you get a full week off. Only Rider left before Big Tens. This is setting up just perfectly for Cale Sanderson and company.
Yeah, since 2015, 2016, Rick, they are 56-1 in Big Ten duels. The only blemish back in 2020 to Iowa. 4 returning national champions. You throw in 3 more All-Americans. They are solid up and down the lineup.
And, of course, we talk about not seeing guys like Carter Starace this past week, maybe a little bit banged up. Now you have time for any guys who are a little bit banged up to rest, recover, and get back to 100% before they head to Lincoln.
As you mentioned, they got a couple of weeks off now. Then they'll wrestle Rider. That's their final duel of the season. And then 2 more weeks before the Big Ten championships. They are always ready come March. They've done it for so long.
And we expect their biggest competition to be the Iowa Hawkeyes, a team that they knocked off inside Carver Hawkeye a few weeks ago. But the emotion in Carver Hawkeye this past weekend was palpable. For the last time, that amazing fan base sees so many seniors who decided to come back this year for one more shot at a national championship. You could see it in their eyes. The tears were starting to well up, not just in the stands, but when those guys were leaving the mat as well.
A lot of emotion. They've been here for a long time, but it was very fitting. Austin DeSanto, another tech fall. He leads the team with 9. Jade Nyerman scores a takedown late to get a major decision. You mentioned Alex Marinelli earlier. Him and Michael Kemmer, those guys have had so many big-time victories in that arena. Caleb Young in the mix as well. It was a storybook ending to their career in that Hawkeye singlet in dual meets in Carver Hawkeye.
Crazy number, 102 and 17 combined for those seniors inside Carver Hawkeye, arguably the best home mat advantage in the world of college wrestling. Now, Nebraska didn't pick up a win this weekend, but you start to look at some of the individual matchups and where the Huskers want to be when you get to Big Tens. And I think it's fair to say you could look at this weekend, despite those losses, as a positive for the Huskers.
They're a very good team, a lot of balance up and down the lineup, and they're a team, they wear the personality of Coach Mark Manning. They're intense, they wrestle really hard, and Rich Lovett at 149, one of the spark plugs. Chad Redd, the experience at 141, a 4-time All-American. And they are very good in those upper weights with 174 with Mikey Labriola. Taylor Venz is an All-American at 184. And then at 197 in heavyweights, you have Eric Schultz and Christian Lance. They will be dangerous. This is a team that will be in the trophy conversation. They might be a little bit on the outside, but if they bring their A game and they take advantage of some breaks, don't count out the Cornhuskers.
I absolutely love Ridge Lovett. I mean, he is the tone setter for Nebraska. You could tell. They started that duel against Michigan on Friday night at 149, and after Lovett wins, he looked at the crowd. He said, "This is our house." He is the guy that I think maybe more than anybody else on that team, and they have a ton of talent, talent. You mentioned those guys. Chad Redd brings energy. He is the guy that they feed off in Lincoln.
He just lets it fly. I mean, he is must-see TV every time he's on the wrestling mat. He's worth the price of admission, and he did not disappoint yesterday against Bo Bartlett of Penn State. Rick, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. The fact that he's on his butt, his head above, his foot above his head, and he finds a way to finish off a double leg, I stand by what I said. It's the best double leg takedown I've ever seen in a Nebraska Cornhusker singlet.
When Shane starts moving around as he is right now, back and forth on the set, you know he's really fired up. Here was the Shane Sparks tweet about that double leg takedown. He has Ridge Lovett #1, and he has everybody else behind.
Well, you got Jordan Burroughs 2 through 10. Now, Jordan Burroughs will always be the king of the blast double. I'm not debating that, but just one single double leg takedown, I'm taking that one Ridge Lovett had yesterday.
Jordan Burroughs is on the phone. He would like a word with Shane Sparks.
He's still the king,
right
like
now.
I said. He's still the king.
Ohio State came back from a huge deficit against Rutgers, and I'll be honest, midway through that bout, as we got into the duels of the upper weights, I didn't think Ohio State had it in them, and then Rocky Jordan comes up with a huge win. Gavin Hoffman comes up with a huge win. Hoffman especially is a guy that I think has been wrestling at a really high level the last few weeks.
What I'm impressed with Ohio State was on Friday night, they got beat up pretty good. But you got to have a short memory. It's the Big Ten. Every time you toe that line, it's going to be tough. So yesterday, the fact that they won, I think it was 4 straight to close that dual meet, really impressive. And Rocky Jordan, him and Caleb Romero manning that 184-pound post, he stepped up with a huge win yesterday, beating John Posnanski, who was 4th at the national tournament last year. This was a good performance by Ohio State.
Shane, before we wrap up this segment, I do want to touch on Rutgers for a second. They're a dangerous team. They're a team that has talent up and down the lineup, and we will see them on the network this weekend against Maryland. What should we know about the Scarlet Knights?
You're going to see one of the best guys in the country, Sebastian Rivera, 2-time Big Ten champion. Sebastian Rivera, to give it some context, Rick, 2-time Big Ten champion. Who did he beat to win those titles? He has beaten Spencer Lee and Roman Bravo Young. Pretty impressive resume. If he wins another Big Ten title, he'll have to get through one or a combination of Jade Nyerman and Nick Lee, most likely. But they got a guy at 149, Mike Van Brill, 3rd in the Big Ten last year at 149. And then they got those two hammers in the upper weights with John Posnanski at 184 and Greg Bulzak at 197. One thing we know, Rick, it doesn't matter what sport it is. When Rutgers competes, they fight until the end. They always fight.
We know Ryan Deakin can wrestle. Now we know he cannot promote himself, at least not when asked to do so on the spot. Listen, those promotional videos are never easy. What was that like when they're asking you to do that, to give the cat roar, to yell? It's just not your personality to do it.
Yeah, it's just awkward, uncomfortable, and then, you know, you have your buddies. I think Luke was standing there behind there looking at me every time, so I could not keep a straight face. In those days, I'm glad those media days are done.
Well, the good news is that doesn't count. What matters is what you do on the mat. We've only had the chance to see, I think, 8 times this year, 3 in Big Ten duels. So you've been kind of off and on. Part of it, obviously, is based on the world that we live in right now. Part, perhaps, making sure that you're ready for the Big Tens and the NCAAs. How do you kind of balance that desire to wrestle and the understanding that your coaches may know what's best for you going through the course of the year?
Yeah, I think just trusting in my coaches and understanding. You know, I think they've been here before, so knowing to trust in them, and you know, I have full belief that they've always steered me the right way, and so I think just always staying ready and trying to, you know, do everything I can in my power to continue to improve in my wrestling and just keep going forward with all that.
You're from Colorado, 2-time Big Ten champion for the Wildcats. How did you get to Northwestern?
So I did a summer camp out here. That's kind of how I saw Northwestern first, maybe in sophomore, junior year of high school. So one of my best friends growing up, his dad was a 4-time All-American, Mike Funk, at Northwestern. So I kind of heard about it growing up from his dad, and then I came checked it out, and I just, you know, loved Northwestern, fell in love with the people here and Chicago, and, you know, the rest is history.
Now, we were joking a bit. Northwestern's an amazing school. This area is fantastic to live in, but as a Colorado guy who enjoyed the mountains, enjoyed some skiing, enjoyed all that altitude, we don't have a lot of that around here. So nice to get back home, I assume, sometime too, and kind of smell that fresh mountain air.
For sure. I think skiing, snowboarding doesn't, unfortunately, it's kind of during the wrestling season. So haven't gotten to do that as much last few years, but in the spring, there's still some good snow. So like to go back and do that, and some hiking in the summer and stuff. So Colorado's always a great time to get back there and, see some family and friends.
If you could give yourself some advice coming out of high school in preparing to wrestle in the Big Ten, what would you tell yourself then?
I think continue to just keep a positive attitude and wrestling every day and looking to improve. And I think those small improvements stack up. And I think that also just relaxing and understanding that, trusting in your coaches, trusting in your teammates, and enjoy the process.
I know that you're focused on 157 because that's where you wrestle, and the goal this year is to win your first national championship at that weight class. How much do you watch other guys inside and maybe nationally outside the Big Ten at other weight classes?
Yeah, I think, I love wrestling. I'm a fan of the sport, but I'm also in season. I probably watch wrestling a little bit less from a fan lens, and I'm more, competitor lens, and maybe looking at some outside technique or something from some world championships or things like that. So I love watching wrestling, but not until the college season's over do I watch it from more of just a pure enjoyment, like a lens like that. It's more the competitor lens.
All right, so we can't just talk wrestling. We can't be serious about this. Time to have some fun now with Ryan Deakin. We're going to play a 3-question game called Who Am I?
Okay.
Now, the answers to all these questions are either current Northwestern teammates or coaches or former Wildcat wrestlers.
Okay.
So there are the ground rules. Shane gets question number 1.
All right, Super Bowl Sunday, less than a week away. Cincinnati Bengals, of course. From the AFC, who am I? My sister is a former Cincinnati Bengal cheerleader.
Mike D'Agostino.
Absolutely correct. We can see up there that Ryan absolutely nailed question number 1. There is Michael's sister, former cheerleader for the Cincinnati Bengals. Good luck to the Bengals, by the way. I'm rooting for Cincy this weekend.
We gotta, I don't know if Mike's gonna love this, but fun fact, so when he moved in freshman year, his mom gave a poster with the Bengals cheerleaders to my roommate Luke Davison. So we have that poster up on the fridge right now. So
and Mike has been wanting to rip it down ever since Mom gave it to the team.
That's yeah.
All right. Question number 2. Who am I? I survived not only a small plane crash, but also a boat capsizing at sea to be where I am right now.
Wow. I don't know if I know this one.
So think outside the box, not necessarily just teammates, but someone that's part of your program. You're in trouble because it's your head coach.
Storney.
Storney
No way.
is the guy that apparently, according to Shane, drummed up these stories. These are true stories.
Yeah, when he was in middle school, he said his dad took him and his sister to an air show. They were giving away free plane rides, and they had like a crash landing into a field. And then he was off Nicaragua, and his boat capsized. They had to get rescued, and
Wow,
so there you go.
I did not know that.
Explain some stuff about your head coach. All right, Shane, you get the third and final question.
Who am I? I am the last Northwestern Wildcats to wrestle for an NCAA championship at 157 pounds.
Jason Welch.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good job.
And let's hope that question is not accurate anymore after the 2022 season because we want to see Ryan Deakin wrestling. Check out the young Ryan Deakin. You were wrestling at 157 right there.
No.
That was a much lighter weight.
Yep.
Fantastic stuff. And Sebastian Rivera next to you as well, former Northwestern teammate, now doing great things at Rutgers. He'll be part of a conversation that we have a little bit later in the show. Ryan's going to hang around for that conversation as well.
Super exciting for the Hawkeyes. Curious to see what Big Ten program launches a women's program next. We had a lot of great mat returns this week. Let's get right at it with the mat return of the week segments. We're going to start here. Great mat return right there. Center of the mat. It's an attitude. I always speak about that. Well executed right now. You see the head go down. Those are the moments in a wrestling match when you feel like you've really broken somebody. Great job there, center of the mat, grabs a wrist, well-executed mat return. I like this one right here. Jordan Nelson national champion for Life University. They had to have this one. At the edge, stays in good position. Ultimately, she got the pin, and they won the dual meet and the conference. How about Tony Cassiope against Trent Hilger? He's so tough against this Badger. He's never lost to Hilger. Front of periods, back of periods. Finish those periods on top. Tony Cassiope here at the end of the second period, 20 seconds left. He's fired up. It was a great win for Iowa. 197 pounds. This weight class is wide open in the Big Ten. Eric Schultz, he is so gritty. Good mat return against Patrick Bruckey of Michigan. 45 seconds left. There it is. He'd go on to beat the Wolverine. Eric Schultz, keep an eye out for him at 197 for the Cornhuskers. Let's go to Michigan. Logan Massa against Mikey Labriola. Labriola, third of the national tournaments. Not every mat return's got to be that big booming mat return. Good slick little trip right there by Massa. Now at the edge. Now he's going to lift and explode. There's that powerful mat return from Logan Massa. Great job there in the second period. He found a way to get the victory against the Cornhusker. But our mat return winner of the week, no doubt about this one, Greg Kerkvliet of Penn State. Watch this explosion. Sold out Rec Hall. That place was rocked off its foundation. Greg Kerkvliet, he's a different guy from a year ago. Very good on his feet, and he's really tough in that top position as well. Greg Kerkvliet gets it done. Penn State wins the dual meet championship in the Big Ten. Greg Kerkvliet, congratulations. Fantastic mat return. That one's going to be a nominee for mat return of the year, I have a feeling. The bobblehead doll is headed to State College.
This was how Ryan Deakin announced his return to Northwestern prior to this season. Very simple, unfinished business, and we can tell that it was a bit easier for Ryan with just the Twitter picture here than it was doing the video promo that we showed you earlier in the show. Ryan's back with us, Rick Pizzo, Shane Sparks as well. And Shane, before we get Ryan's thoughts on the NCAAs, I want to get your take on the top 5 wrestlers in this conference who haven't yet won an NCAA title, but are most likely to do so this year.
Well, when you win a Big Ten championship, you are capable of winning a national title. Look at this list. Ryan Deakin, he's number 1 on my list at 157, 2-time Big Ten champion, 3-time All-American, and look at Amin, Kemmer, Revere, and Ironman. Those guys, multiple-time All-Americans, and they are all Big Ten champions.
We mentioned the fact earlier in the show that Sebastian Rivera used to be your teammate at Northwestern. What do you make of Seabass and his chances? That is an absolutely loaded weight class where he's at.
Yeah, I think Sebastian is a phenomenal wrestler. I think anytime he's on the mat, he's dangerous. So I would love to see him win it. I think he's got everything going for him. He's had a great year. I'm excited to watch him go make that come true in March.
What does it take, Ryan, at the NCAAs? Because in a duel, you wrestle once. Sometimes you have one day off. Sometimes you have a whole week off before you go back at it. You get to the NCAAs, it is bout after bout, and you don't have the opportunity to make a mistake.
Yeah, I think it's, staying focused, and it's that, in between matches, you're relaxing, and then when you're on the mat, it's tightening everything up and making sure that you're staying on your offense. And, I think a lot of guys tighten up there, so it's staying loose there and having fun with it, I think, has been the best recipe.
Shane?
When you look back at your Northwestern career, of course, unfinished business, but up to this point, what are you most proud of?
I think just, the relationships I've built here. I think Northwestern has been, far exceeded anything I could have expected coming in. It's just phenomenal people, phenomenal teammates, phenomenal coaches, friends. And I think that that's something that's going to last way past, college wrestling.
Well said. Wrestling is fantastic. There are things above and beyond the sport.